Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Miss Jess. I'm Miss Jessica Summerlin, and I'm here to give a little Sunday school lesson to all of our kiddos out there. My home church is Good Shepherd United Methodist Church, so we're streaming from my phone. Couldn't get the laptop to work, so we're going to go with the phone. A little comfort there. And our church is in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And thank you so much to everybody that's going out there. So I see people are there. I'm like, yay, people are watching. So our amazing education director, and I'm sure I'm screwing up whatever her title is, Kaylee Evans. We're so excited that her and Jay are brand new parents. And so she's still on maternity leave. So they have graciously asked me to share with you Sunday school just like I would on Sunday. So the really cool thing about today, guys, is mom and dad don't have to say, no, you can't be on technology because it's all about Jesus on technology. So that is amazing, right? How fun is that? How's everybody doing with the quarantine? It's kind of weird, isn't it? I don't know about you, but at first it was kind of scary that people didn't want me to leave the house. And so then as a mom, I was trying to figure out, where we could go and what we were going to eat. And of course, I don't know if you guys know all about the whole toilet paper fiasco stuff. But as far as you guys are concerned, I don't want you to worry about any of that crazy stuff. Let moms and dads worry about food and toilet paper and all that kind of crazy stuff. The fun thing that we're going to talk about today is separation. And yes, separation is kind of not a fun word to talk about. But yesterday and this whole week when I've been killing myself trying to figure out what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? I thought, you know what? As a kid, separation was a big deal for me personally. When I was a little kid, I was a mama's girl. I wanted to be with my mom all the time. My poor mother. I didn't like being without her. If we went to church, I wanted her to teach. If we went to school, I wanted her to walk me inside the building. Anybody out there relate to that? Hi, Jaya. So when we talked about doing this whole quarantine thing, it kind of made me wonder if you guys maybe are a little worried about being separated. You like school friends. Like maybe you don't like school so much because I know sometimes it's boring and you got to do the right things. But I would think that a lot of you guys out there being separated from your friends, it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard. You're used to doing things a certain way. You see certain people certain days, you're separated right now. Some of you guys out there know exactly what separation means as far as maybe your parents. Maybe your parents don't live in the same house. Maybe you've got a family where you have different houses that you live in and you go different places for different weekends. And that's really hard sometimes, One weekend you hang out with your mom or your mom's family, and maybe the next weekend you hang out at your grandma or your dad's family. That's really hard sometimes because you're separated. You don't get to be all together in the same place. And sometimes that's kind of scary. Well, last week we talked in Sunday school about Moses and how he was this amazing person that God specifically said, Moses, get out there and do some work for me. And Moses didn't want to go. I don't know if you guys remember the story, but last week we talked about how Moses didn't really want to go. And he was out in the wilderness and with his little sheeps, or his sheep, not his sheep. And suddenly this big bush just comes into fire. And he's like, what's going on? And my friend Ben reminded me that God told Moses to take your shoes off. Remember? Because you're on holy ground. Take your shoes off. Well, Moses was asked by God to go free the people in Egypt. And remember, he gave him a big stick that turned into a snake. And Moses was able to take that staff. It wasn't a magic staff, okay? It wasn't magic. It was God's tool that he gave to Moses to use to get Pharaoh to let all of his people go. And we're talking thousands of people. Thousands and thousands of people. We're not talking about just one little neighborhood. So Moses goes, and remember all the 10 plagues, the bugs and the frogs and the boils and the fire and all the terrible stuff that happened. And remember the very last thing where they did the Passover, where all the firstborn were died unless you put the blood on the door. Excuse me. So that was kind of scary, you know. So the good part about the story was the Pharaoh finally said, take your people and get out, because he was just so upset. He was so upset and he was done with it. So Moses took all the people. Well, they walk, and I'm talking thousands of people, and they got all their stuff on their backs, and they don't probably have any camels, because remember, they were all slaves. So they're just picking up their stuff, and they're walking, and they come to the Red Sea. Okay, so the Red Sea is this huge piece of water, like an ocean. I don't know the exact term between the ocean and the sea. I'm not that biologically inclined, and I'm sure your mom and dad could figure that out. But anyway, the Red Sea is enormous. Like walking up to the beach of the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the beach, maybe, or maybe Indiana Beach, where the big lakes are. So Moses has thousands of people, and they're standing there. And now they're looking at Moses and saying, okay, hot guy, now what? Okay, we're walking. And now all this water. What in the world are you supposed to, what are we going to do? So Moses took that staff, that big stick that God gave him, and he puts it in the water. And the water separates right down the middle. Right down the middle. That is amazing. It goes right down the middle. And not only did he separate the Red Sea so that the people could walk through it, it wasn't even wet. You guys that have dogs, you got dogs, and you ever let the dogs go out and it's raining, and when they come in, they have puddle paws? I do not like puddle paws. They've got big mud on them, and someone always opens the stinking door, and the dog rushes in, and I got puddle paws all over the place. And there's nasty carpet. Well, Moses did such an amazing job parting the Red Sea that there's no puddle paws. You walk right through it, and the ground is dry. It's like the Red Sea's never there. And as they're walking through, you can see the amazing marine life. Marine life means life in the water. Did you know? I looked this up last night. Did you know that there are 300 species of coral? That's like living rock. 300 species of coral in the Red Sea alone. And 1,200 species of life. So think about 100 M&Ms. So today, you go count 100 M&Ms or 100 buttons or 100 whatevers, okay? You take that 100, and then you imagine that pile of 100 times another 120. That's like my friend Caitlin Carter. I'm picking on her because I know she can take it. She is one of the most beautiful little girls in the whole wide world, and she has beautiful little freckles all over her face. Now, my grandmother told me a long time ago that those were angel kisses. Well, I know she's got at least 100 angel kisses on her little face. So just imagine 120 Caitlin Carters lined up, and that's how many species is in the Red Sea. That's amazing, right? So Moses parts this Red Sea, separates the Red Sea, and they walk through. Well, they're walking through because the Pharaoh changed his mind and got all mad and crazy, and so now he's running after the Israelites. But I don't want you to worry about that, because God took care of it. God was absolutely, he just took care of it. They walked through that Red Sea, and as the last little person, as the last little grandma, as the last little mom or dad or family walked through it, the Red Sea came gently back down, and the Egyptians couldn't get to the Israelites, which is completely amazing. So the Red Sea separated the Egyptians from the Israelites. And God did that. It wasn't Moses or a magic staff. Because remember, the stick wasn't magic. The stick was just a tool that God gave Moses so that he could do God's work. Well, let me tell you one more thing about an amazing thing that God has done. God has made every single one of my very special friends from Good Shepherd United Methodist Church in the children's section. And every single one of you has an amazing gift. But one of the gifts that I want you to really work on this week is I want you to make sure that you're taking super good care of yourself. I want you to make sure that you're washing your hands, and I want to make sure that you're doing some exercises. I want you to make sure that you're thinking really good thoughts, and I want you to give your family a little bit of extra love. It's kind of a scary time right now, but I don't want you to worry about all the stuff outside of your house. I don't want you to worry about all the big words you hear on TV, because you know what? All that stuff's going to go away. And unfortunately, this will go away and something else. There's always going to be something. So you just take your most precious gift, which is yourself, that God has put on this earth, and we absolutely embrace that. Because one of the neatest things about being a parent and about being an adult is watching you guys grow, watching you guys laugh, and watching you guys have a great time. So I definitely want you guys to think about how important that you are. Even as a kid, kids are super important. One Bible verse that I want everybody to look up, and don't even act like you don't know how to use a Bible. And if you don't, you just private message me and we will get you back on that. But anybody that's been through my class knows there is an Old Testament and a New Testament. And the Old Testament was written before Jesus walked on the earth, and the New Testament was after Jesus was born. Well, in the Old Testament, there's a book called Psalms, and there's a lot of really cool songs in there. They're not rock and roll or blues, sorry, but I mean, they're really cool songs. And one of the Psalms is Psalm 50. So I want you to look this up. Psalm 50, verse 11. And it says, I know every bird in the mountains and the insects in the fields are mine. So God loves every bird and every stinking bug. Every bug. Can you imagine? God loves every little tiny bug. We step on them all the time. We whoosh them away, and we don't like the bugs. But if God loves those little tiny little natty bugs, think of how much He loves you. And think of how important you are. So, Miss Jess loves you with all of her heart, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of your Sunday morning. The only bad thing about the Sunday morning FaceTimey thing, there's no donuts, right? Somehow we should get donuts. I love all of you so much, and you guys have an absolute wonderful Sunday. And anytime that you guys need anything at all, hand up, hand out, a laugh, I got a ton of those. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with a joke, right? Got to leave you with a joke. So, what do you call a pile of kittens? What do you call a pile of kittens? A mountain. I love you guys.